Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. My stepdad, 67 male, recently passed away after battling a long-term illness, and it has been the most devastating period for me. I, 24 male, was very close to my stepdad. He adopted me after he wedded my mom and has been everything I prayed for in a father. He was my best friend, my coach, and my mentor. His death is a bitter pill, and I'm still in shock. My dad had a son with his first wife, whom he divorced when his son, I'll call him Melvin, 30 male, was 12 years old. 4 years later, my dad met and married my mom. I was 10 years old when he adopted me. This event marked a turning point in my life since my biological father died before I was born, and I was brought up by my mom. My dad's marriage to my mom was the best thing life offered to me. I finally had a father, and he treated me like family. I can't say the same about my stepbrother Melvin. He was far older than me, yet it did not stop him from being a mean bully, and he did not pass on any opportunity to call me a freeloader or any nasty name he could think of. At first, I would report to my mom, but she asked that I give him time to come around since he was unhappy about his father's remarriage. And being an only child, adjusting wouldn't come easily. This only made him bolder and worse. I was safe only when he was at college. He barely came home and called only when he was in a fix and needed money. Melvin stopped all communication with me after he graduated and got a great job. I felt things would get better between us when he included me in his committee of friends and made me contribute to his wedding, only to block me afterwards. He made sure to let us know only his family could attend his wedding, so my mom and I were not invited. He removed Dad from his wedding list too, after a slight altercation. It was quite heartbreaking when I saw Dad trying to hide his tears when Melvin did this. Dad paid for his college education, helped him get his first job, and sponsored the wedding. Yet Melvin felt it was not good enough. When Dad fell sick, we reached out to Melvin, but he never responded to us. I had to go visit him when it was obvious Dad's health was deteriorating and had asked me to contact Melvin. His sickness had eaten into my savings and I needed help financially. Since I didn't have much any longer and I was deep in debt because I had to resign from work to be my dad's caregiver. My efforts to get Melvin to at least see his father were dead on arrival since he wouldn't listen. Rather, he chased me out of his house, threatening to call the cops on me if I returned. He said Dad made his bed and there was no need to spend money to keep him alive since he was going to die anyway. We did not hear from him again until the day of Dad's funeral. He showed up at the last minute and cornered me after the funeral, asking about Dad's will. It took all my willpower to keep from punching him. I pushed him off and joined the others who showed up to pay their last respect. After the funeral, Dad's will executor told us that Dad had requested that we liquidate his assets and divide them among his few relatives. Thus, Melvin got $1,000. 2 charity organizations he's been part of got $5,000 each. 3 relatives got $1,000 each. And the rest he gave to me and my mom with a clause that we look after his older sister. Melvin went berserk when it dawned on him that I had the lion's share. He went on a tirade, cussing out my mom and me and accusing the executor of conniving with my mom to deny him of his birthright. In his anger, he broke a few properties and was out for blood, but I called the cops before the matter escalated. Melvin called me after he left asking that I share my inheritance with him. He said it was unfair that I got everything when I'm not his father's blood. I told him that I was not going to do that. I may not be his blood, but Dad was my father and I was his son. I reminded him of his actions towards Dad and told him that it was not my fault, that he refused to be a part of Dad's life and chose to be an ungrateful, self-absorbed bully. He kept trying to force me to give in, but I stood my ground. Melvin threatened to contest the will and has started a smear campaign against me, and has people calling me a-hole for not giving in to his demand. Am I an a-hole here? Update. I made a post nearly a year ago concerning sharing my inheritance with my stepbrother 4 years ago, so I think you deserve the update. My stepbrother tried contesting the will, but his case was thrown out, not a single hearing. He has also lost most of his supporters since they found out that he was horrible to Dad. Thanks to Dad's kindness, I am debt-free. I invested half of the money and I started a small business with the rest. My mom and my step-aunt are faring well, and so am I. I still miss my dad, but I know he's resting peacefully. I'm sorry about the loss of your dad, OP. You were more of a son to him than Melvin, and I think he knew that too. I can't believe the nerve of him. He wants nothing to do with his dad, but he wants his inheritance after his death. That's his dad's money. If he wants nothing to do with the man, then he shouldn't want anything to do with his money either. I'm glad you, your mom, and your dad's sister are doing well. You deserve the best, OP. I know your dad is resting peacefully too. Story 2. I'm pretty close with both my brother and his wife. For the entire time I've known her, my sister-in-law has been decently overweight. Not to the point that it really affected her life a ton, but still noticeable. I talked to my brother and sister-in-law almost every day over quarantine. Through these conversations, I found out that sister-in-law decided to lose weight over the lockdown. She decided to follow this dieting philosophy where you don't count calories or restrict food. You're supposed to increase your amount of exercise while also gradually cutting out unhealthy foods and replacing them with healthier ones. It's supposed to make you healthier and then eventually lead to weight loss. This all sounded fine to me, and I supported my sister-in-law whenever we talked. However, she did say that she wasn't really losing much weight, but she thought it was because she was gaining muscle. Yesterday, I finally got to visit my brother and sister-in-law after 3 months apart. Straight away, I noticed that she hadn't lost any weight and didn't look particularly more muscular, but I didn't say anything. During my visit, she ended up showing me the trail mix that she had switched out for all her snacks. Because it had healthy stuff in it like nuts, dark chocolate, and dried fruit. I tried it and it was really good. But when I was reading the package, I noticed that there were almost 300 calories per serving. And I could tell that my sister-in-law was eating more than a couple servings at a time. I couldn't really stop myself and I asked her if she realized how many calories there were in it. She apparently had no idea. Her immediate reaction was shock and maybe a bit of sadness. But I left pretty soon after and that was it. However, this morning I received a long text from my brother and he was really angry. He said that I should have just kept my mouth shut because now my sister-in-law was struggling a lot with her body and her diet. Apparently, she was convinced she had been becoming a lot healthier. But now she thought she was a failure and she was going to start counting calories. Am I the a-hole? You're not the a-hole, OP. Your sister-in-law isn't either, but your brother is though. You didn't say anything rude or demeaning, you were being helpful and you made her aware of the possible mistakes that she might be making in her weight loss journey. Your brother is probably mad because he hates seeing his wife sad. But he has to understand that you didn't mean any harm, and I'm sure your sister-in-law agrees that you don't. Hopefully, she will start being more aware of her calorie intake and she'll get the results she's hoping for. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. You weren't malicious and you weren't mean. You just asked her if she had noticed something about her snacks as it pertained to her health efforts, and you did so in a respectful way. It's sad, but it doesn't mean you were a jerk. Not the a-hole. You told her how many calories there were per serving, and obviously she wasn't counting how many servings she was having. You said she wanted to lose weight by a certain diet that doesn't require you to count calories. Just because you aren't counting calories doesn't mean you have to be unaware. If anything, you helped her realize where she was going wrong. Not the a-hole. I don't think you had any malice, and I honestly think it's important to know calories in something because things we think are healthy may not be as good as we think, and it was apparent she had not looked, which I think is odd if you are dieting. You pointed out something she needed to know to succeed. You were trying to help and it seems like you tried to be delicate about it. She's likely sad and frustrated, she isn't getting results and realizing she had made a mistake made her self-conscious. This isn't your fault. It was better you pointed it out so that she knew so she could fix the problem and have more success. Story 3. My 32 females husbands, 32 males sister, 30 female is really dramatic and self-centered. She has a bad reputation of making others' weddings all about herself. She tried to give a drunken maid of honor speech when she wasn't the maid of honor at one wedding, and she wore a long white dress that looked like a wedding dress to another. My husband and I think it has something to do with her resentment over not being married. But regardless, my wedding day was very important to me, so I didn't want her to ruin it. I couldn't uninvite her because my husband and I would have gotten in a lot of trouble with his family. So my husband and I hatched a plan. We made all of the normal wedding invitations that said the real date of the wedding, May 3rd. But we made one invitation that said May 6th and sent it to her. She doesn't talk much with my husband's other relatives, so she never realized the date was wrong. She didn't come to the wedding because she had the wrong date, and the wedding went really smoothly. After the wedding, we asked her why she didn't come. She swore it was on May 6th, but she had thrown her invitation away, so she had no proof. Basically, we made sure that she didn't come to the wedding, and it was a good thing too, because she attended my husband's cousin's wedding in 2019 and stumbled into the cake and destroyed it for attention. I don't regret keeping the wedding date a secret from her, but my husband feels really bad because she's his sister. He wants to come clean to her, but I told him that would only make things worse. Am I the a-hole? Now for some comments. Damn, that's petty. Instead of confronting her and explaining why she wasn't invited, you hatched a sitcom-level plan to trick and punish her. You may feel like you had every reason to behave this way, and maybe you do based on her past Guestzilla behavior. However, it seems a bit like you're posting here to brag about your revenge, instead of genuinely wanting to know if you're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. Everyone sucks here. I mean, I'm glad your sister-in-law didn't come to your wedding, which is what it sounds like everyone wanted. But you surely know that was a pretty shitty thing to do. If your husband feels guilty and wants to tell her it needs to be a part of a bigger, you're a mess and you need to quit sucking so much. Intervention. Although you might want to call the intervention something else because that's not going to look good on the banner. Look, if you were willing to do it, and I agree it was the right move, you have to take it to the grave. Because if you tell her, for the first time in her life, she is not the one who started it. Do you know what an opportunity you would be giving to a narcissist like that? Instead of her sabotaging and deliberately hurting others, you did it to her. So therefore, she would be justified in going after you. Someone like that will make your lives hell until the end of time. She will mess with your kids, she will mess with you. You will regret opening your mouth. The fact that no one in your extended family mentioned it to her means that people agreed with you and were trying to help. If your husband opens his mouth now, you're both going to regret it.